Hello again. Welcome to British English Club with another story by Edward Ardizonne. The name is Tim and Ginger. Ginger was a friend of Tim, and he is in many of the stories about Tim and his adventures. So today we're going to have a look at Tim and Ginger and read the story. Okay, here we go then. Tim and Ginger. Tim was a small boy who lived in a house by the sea. Every day, when the weather was fine, he and his best friend Ginger would play on the beach. When the tide was high and the sea came right up to the steep shingle bank, Tim and Ginger would play ducks and drakes by throwing flat pebbles so they skipped across the water. Ginger was very good at this. When the tide was low and the sea went far out, they would dig in the sand for lugworms, which they sold to the fishermen for bait. Tim, because he worked harder, always found more worms than Ginger. "Oh, poof," said Ginger, "I'm tired." However, what Tim liked to do best was to sit and talk with the old boatman, who would tell him all about the sea and ships. This sometimes bored Ginger, who thought he knew everything about everything, though of course he did not. "Poof," he would say, "I have been a sailor boy and know all about the silly old sea." Then he would go off and practice playing ducks and drakes and get even better at it than before. One day they found the old boatman looking sad and serious. "Oh," he said, "have you heard about poor Tom, the baker's son? Went shrimping, and he did among the rocks as he usually did, under the high chalk cliffs, and was caught by the tide. He will never come home no more." Then he went on to say that tides were dangerous, and that, if they would stop and listen, he would tell them why. Tim stayed to listen, but Ginger only said, "Pooh, oh, I know all about silly old tides," and went off to play ducks and drakes again. The next day the sea was so calm and blue that it did not look at all dangerous. Ginger wanted Tim to play with him, but Tim had to go into the town with his parents. "Okay," said Ginger, "I will see you at tea time. Now I'm going shrimping." Tim begged Ginger to be careful. "Pooh," said Ginger, "I'm not afraid of your silly old tides." When Tim arrived back, he hurried to the beach. It was tea time and there was nobody about. He looked everywhere for Ginger but could not find him. Worse still, the tide was coming in. Tim was worried. He felt sure that Ginger was somewhere under those tall white cliffs, but couldn't get back. He wondered what to do, when he noticed a little boat just afloat on the incoming tide. At once Tim made up his mind. He would take the boat and go to the rescue. He waded through the shallow water to the boat, climbed on board, pulled in the anchor, unshipped the oars, and rowed away to the tall white cliffs, which you could just see in the far distance. It was a long, long row, and Tim was tired, but he kept grimly on. He was desperately worried, because now that he was getting near the cliffs, he could see that the rocks and their base had been covered by the rising tide, and he knew that Ginger couldn't swim. And nowhere could he see any sign of Ginger. He had almost given up hope of ever seeing him again, when rounding a bend of the cliff, he saw something red just above the water. It was Ginger. He was in a terrible plight. By standing on the tips of his toes, he could only just keep his head above the sea. However, he was soon on board and seemed none the worse for his adventure. Tim was tired after his long row, so he let Ginger take the oars and row them home. Now Ginger was an excitable boy. While he rowed, he became more and more excited, telling Tim about his adventures, how the crabs nibbled his toes, and how a seagull sat on his head. When he came to how a great shark swam very close, he was so excited that he let the oars drop in the water and drift away. Tim was horrified. He knew that now they were at the mercy of the wind and the waves. Ginger was explaining how big the shark was. It was as big as this. "Oh, Ginger, what have you done?" And indeed they were. The wind began to blow, the waves to rise, and the boat to drift towards some unknown shore. Tim stood up in the boat and waved his red jersey, but nobody saw them. Soon it became dark. So, cold and wet, miserable, they curled themselves up in the bottom of the boat and tried to go to sleep. By this time it was blowing a gale. Now, when Tim and Ginger did not get home for supper, all sorts of things started to happen. First of all, the man who owned the boat was angry. That boy, Tim, has stolen my boat," he said. "Arrest him and put him in prison." "One thing at a time, sir." "Arrest him." "Arrest him at once." "Nonsense," said the old boatman. "Tim is too honest a boy to steal anything. He must have taken it for a good reason." All the same, the boatman was anxious. He kept looking through his telescope in the hope of seeing the boys. He wished they were back, as he did not like the look of the weather. "Can't understand, my dear." "I do wish those boys would come home," said Tim's mum. Tim's mother was worried. His father said, "It's all right, my dear. Tim is a sensible boy. He will Tim is a sensible boy. He will come to no harm." Though, of course, he was worried too. But when night fell and a gale was blowing and great waves were crashing on the beach, all were very frightened for the safety of the boys. Oh, those poor boys! The alarm was given. Parties of men and women, armed with torches, were sent to search the rocky shores and the pebbly beaches. The coast guards were warned, and all along the cliff tops were watchers. Guards with their telescopes, old gentlemen with their binoculars, and children with sharp eyes. All were watching for two small boys in a boat on a stormy sea. But that was not all. The new motor lifeboat was launched into the raging sea to take part in the search. You can imagine how anxiously Tim's father and mother waited all that night the news and how tired and sad they were when the dawn came and still the boys had not been found. For Tim and Ginger it was a bad dawn too. They peered over the side of the boat. Ahead of them was the land, and the water's edge, a line of pointed rocks. The rocks were white with foam as great waves dashed over them. "We are on a lee shore," said Tim. "Be prepared to land, but I don't like the look of it." At that moment, a great wave hurled them towards the shore and smashed the boat against the rocks. Ginger made a great jump and landed on a rock, but Tim was caught by the waves and dragged back into the sea. Now, Ginger was often silly and often a coward. This time, however, he was brave. Though he couldn't swim, he dashed in the water and dragged Tim onto the rock. "Ginger, you have saved my life," gasped Tim. "Now we must try and get to the shore, although it does look different," gasped Tim. "Now we must try and get to the shore, though it does look difficult." Here all Ginger's courage failed him. He fell on his knees and refused to move. I can't, he cried. "I am sure there are cannibals on shore." "Don't be silly," answered Tim. "We are not on a desert island. We have not drifted as far as all that. Oh, do come along." But Ginger refused to move. Tim was just about to leave Ginger and scramble on the shore for help when he heard shouts and saw a party of 4 children climbing over the rocks toward them. They were saved at last. It was a hard climb over the rocks. The children helped them at the difficult places and then led them to a house nearby. Of course, Ginger, who saw they were just ordinary children, was now no longer frightened. "There's our house, Tim." "This is the best way, Ginger." Father received a telephone call from the Coast Guard station. "Boys have been found and are safe and well." Once in the house, the elder boy rang up the Coast Guard station and told them the news. The elder girl made a big jug of hot cocoa. Once in the house, the elder boy rang up the Coast Guard station and told them the news. The elder girl made a big jug of hot cocoa while the younger boy lit a great big fire. The elder boy phoned the Coast Guard station. "The lost boys have been found, are safe and well." In the meantime, the little girl hurried upstairs to fetch warm, dry clothes for Tim, and Ginger changed into them. And soon Tim and Ginger were sitting by the fire drinking cocoa, feeling warm and comfortable. "I've got a red pullover for you, Tim," said the girl. "I say, this is good." Yes," said Ginger. The little girl said, "Our mummy and daddy are on the cliff looking for you. I'm glad we found you first." They were all sitting around the fire while Tim told them of his adventures when in came the owner of the boat. He rushed upon Tim. Tim caught him by the collar and said, "Ha! You are the thief that—" They were all sitting round the fire while Tim told them of his adventures. When in came the owner of the boat, he rushed upon Tim, caught him by the collar and said, "Ha! You are the thief that stole my boat, aren't you? And now it's all smashed up. Come with me to the police station. I will see that you go to prison. He's not a thief, said the elder boy. Unhand the boy, came a great voice from the doorway. It was the voice of the old boatman who had followed close behind. Let the lad tell his story before you call him a thief. So Tim had to tell his story all over again. When he finished, the old boatman said, "The boy's not a thief. He's a hero." And all the children cheered, and Ginger hardest of all. The next people to arrive were Tim's father and mother and a policeman. You can just imagine how Tim's father and mother hugged Tim and Ginger, thanked the children and shook hands with the old boatman. Tim had to tell his story all over again for the third time, and the policeman wrote every word of it down in his notebook. Ginger was scolded for being so careless about the tide, but was praised for saving Tim in the sea. We had a bad night at sea. The only person who was not happy was the owner of the boat. He kept on saying, "Who is going to pay for my boat?" Ginger said, "Oh, poof, who's interested in your silly old boat?" At which everybody laughed, even the policeman. "Poof," said Ginger. So that's the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, just a reminder, it's called Tim and Ginger by Edward Ardizonne. Hope you enjoyed it and look forward to seeing you next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye for now.